Long ago, on a night when the sea refused to sleep, a wooden boat drifted across the black water, its wooden ribs creaking like bones in a graveyard. And in it, two small children, silent, wrapped in wool, eyes wide as the moon. There were no paddles, no mother, no father, only the night, and the sound of waves whispering secrets to the wind. When the villagers found them at dawn, they did not speak, they did not cry. They simply stared, as if their voices had been stolen by the sea itself. No one knew who they were, no one had seen them before, and no one came looking. They were given names that were not their own, fed by hands that trembled, feared by some, loved by others. This is no ordinary tale. It is a story of escape, of sorrow, of a journey that was never meant to be made, and of a father's final decision that would echo through generations. Gather close, because what I am about to tell you was once whispered by the waves and nearly lost to the deep. In the coastal town of Elmina, where traders speak in hushed tones beneath the market canopy, there was a man named Kwaku Mensah. He was a tailor, known for his steady hands but troubled eyes. His wife, Abina Serwa, came from noble blood. Together, they had two sons. Kwabena was 5 old, and Kojo not yet 3 years old. But peace had long left their home. The drums no longer called laughter. Their marriage had become a storm. Arguments echoed through their modest home. Their union was falling apart. One day, the elders ruled they must separate, not in an attempt to destroy their beautiful union, but for peace's sake. Until then, the boys would stay with their mother, who was in a better position to cater for them since they were still young. The Bakato festival was only a week away, the day Elmina stops its nets to thank the lagoon. Kwaku's voice softened when he asked, "Let me take the boys, just for the festival. They will see the chiefs cast their nets of blessing." Abina agreed. But Kwaku had a secret and was already making plans. He was drowning in debt caused by failed investments which didn't yield any fruit. Disgraced before the chief, his kinsmen, friends, and a scroll had arrived. A summon to the chief's cabinet he could not face. So he planned to run, taking the boys with him, stealing them away from their mother. To leave the coast, to cross the sea to the land of plenty, where men said gold lined the streets, where money lined the walking paths like tree leaves. He sold his loom and valuable belongings, gathered some coins, and bought passage on a great ship that docked at night, its hull larger than any fishing canoe the town had ever seen. On the festival morning, the market turned into a river of color. Drums blurred footfalls, palanquins towered like moving thrones, and villagers pressed toward the lagoon to watch the priest's sacred net. No one noticed a tailor in a plain cloth wrapper slipping 2 sleepy boys toward the harbor. Just as the chief priest had cast his net 3 times, Kwaku lifted his sons a final, fateful time and let the sea claim them. Their identities vanished the moment they boarded the ship as second-class passengers. No one knew, not even the boys. He shaved his beard, changed his name to Kwesi Appiah, and gave the boys strange names, Lalo and Momo. To the ship's crew and passengers, they were just another traveling father and his children bound for a new world. But beneath the elegant decks of the ship, fleeing heartbreak, drowning in debt, chasing a future even he barely believed in. A father was running, fleeing heartbreak, enormous debts, and chasing a future even he barely believed in. He knew he was doing something desperate, maybe even unforgivable, but he believed he was giving his sons a better life. By morning, the ship had swallowed their trail. The ship was unlike anything Kwaku had ever seen, built by white men, crewed by strangers, and full of laughter he could not understand. But to the boys, it was a dream. tall staircases, rooms that didn't smell of fish, rooms that glowed without flame. Kojo giggled at his reflection in the polished walls. Kwabena clapped at the sight of his first piano. Kwaku smiled. For the first time in weeks, they shared a second-class cabin below deck, a single porthole, soft sheets, fresh air, and for a moment, Kwaku beloved he could start again. He would raise the boys in America, tell them tales of Elmina only when they were strong enough to forget, build suits for men with plenty of money, and never speak of the past. For 4 days, the ocean was kind. Within this time, the voyage felt like hope, fresh sea air, crisp lines, evening walks on the deck. But the sea never forgets. It was the 4th night. The stars hung low, like ancient eyes, and sparkled like broken glass above the North Atlantic. The wind was gentle, and the ship moved like a spirit. But just 4 days in, that dream shattered. Suddenly, a shudder. Then, a sound. Not thunder, not storm, but a scrape, long and deep, as if the ocean itself had torn a wound across the hull. Then, a strange vibration beneath the feet. The ship had struck something. Voices rose, boots thundered, doors slammed. Kwaku knew something was wrong. He woke the boys. As panic began to stir, he dressed his sons quickly, wrapped scarves around their necks, carried them through the crowd to the upper decks, and held them tightly. The crew shouted in foreign tongues, women screamed, men pushed. He saw lifeboats being lowered into the waters, and officers shouting to keep men back, but Kwaku will not leave his sons behind. He found a boat, lifeboat number 10, already lowering. He ran forward. The officer held out a hand. No men. Kwaku bent down, whispered into Kwabena's ear, and said, "Kwabena, my son, if you forget my face, remember my voice. If you forget my voice, remember my love. I give you to the sea, not as a sacrifice, but as a seed, to be planted on the other side. The sea is not your enemy, my son. It is only a path. Let it carry you to your mother. My child, when your mother comes for you, as she surely will, tell her I expected her to follow us. Tell her I waited. Tell her I hoped. Tell her I wished that we might live happily together in the peace and freedom of the new world. And if the world ever asks who you are, tell them, I am the son of a man who failed, but never stopped loving his children. Be brave, be kind, and wherever your feet may touch the earth, walk as one whose name is clean, like spring water." He kissed Kojo's forehead, held them tightly for a moment, placed them into the boat. They were the last children placed into boats. Kwaku watched as they floated away and drifted into the dark, his arms empty, his mind swirling of numerous thoughts, his face full of regret. Then he turned and disappeared into the crowd. He never made it off the ship. He was never seen again. That kiss was their last memory of him, the one they called father. Hours passed, the night stretched endlessly. In the small boat, 2 boys huddled between strangers, too young to ask questions, too shocked to cry. Kojo whimpered. Kwabena stared at the moon. A woman wrapped a shawl around them. Another offered dry bread, but no one could understand their words. Their dialect was too soft, too strange. Finally, as the sun rose, a rescue boat arrived. When the rescue boat came, sent from another ship called Nyame Nakoa, they were lifted gently like sacred things, 2 tiny boys in woolen coats. But when asked their names, they were silent. They only spoke their dialect. They had no papers. They had no scrolls, no amulets, no guardians, no one waiting. They were all alone, the only children on the ship who could not be identified. Locals called them Abofra Ebinomai Dubai. In our tongue, it means the children the sea returned, a name given with reverence, with awe, as if they'd been chosen by the gods. Across the world, people began to wonder, who were they? And so they waited. The ship docked far from Elmina. The boys were given to a kind woman named Isi. She had lost her own child to the river years ago, and when she saw the boys, she wept. She took them to her home. She bathed them, fed them with groundnut soup, held them close when they had nightmares, told them stories beneath the silk tree. Still, they did not speak, not of the ship, not of the sea, not of the man they called Papa. News spread quickly, their faces drawn by a village artist, posted at shrines, on trees, across towns, across the ocean on Elmina. Their mother, Abina, recognized her kids instantly. Her heart stopped. Her sons were alive. She contacted authorities immediately. Within days, she set off to go in search of her kids. Then, one faithful day, a woman arrived. Thin, tired, but her eyes burning like fire. Abina. She had traveled for days, guided by a dream, carrying nothing but hope. And when the boys saw her, they ran. No words, just cries. Ma! Ma! She dropped to her knees, held them like clay cups, and wept into their hair. The mystery was solved, but the pain remained. Kwaku was never found. His sacrifice was buried with the wreck. The villagers sang that night. The sea had returned what it had stolen. The boys returned to Elmina with their mother. Their lives continued quietly. The seasons turned. The boys grew. Kwabena walked with the weight of memory. He studied philosophy and became a teacher, a husband, a father, a storyteller. But every year, when the sea sang to the shore, he would sit beneath the silk tree and speak of the man with sad eyes and steady hands. He occasionally told his students and children, "I never blamed my father. I understood our father made a mistake, but he gave us a chance. I remember the cold, the wooden lifeboat, our father's last kiss and words, like that horrific incident happened yesterday." He would show the shawl, the old bracelet, the carved boat. And when asked who he was, Kwabena would say, "I am Kwabena Mensa." He didn't talk about the ship wreckage often, but when he did, his voice softened. Among the wealthy first-class millionaires and heroic crew, two little boys became the face of survival. They didn't know it then, but their journey would outlast every headline, every myth. Their story reminds us that even in the darkest waters, love finds a way to float. A father's final act, a mother's relentless hope, and the resilience of two small boys who refuse to be forgotten. The ocean keeps its secrets, but stories like these drift through generations, carried on the winds and waves. Share this story with your children, with your elders, with anyone who believes that even the sea. Tell us in the comments, would you have done what Kwaku did? Have you ever made a decision that changed everything? Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to our channel, and click the notification button for more folktales from us. Subscribe for more folktales from us, because stories like these are not just echoes. They are blueprints for how love, even broken, always finds a way.